Welcome back, one and all, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to another episode of the Renatus J.A.M. My name is Jay Stark.
And I'm Matt Snyder.
And we are coming to you with the latest and the greatest directly out of the Renatus corporate office. Matt, we haven't had an announcement.
We haven't?
We have had
an
announcement.
And what is that announcement, Jay?
It's not easy to say an announcement.
It's not. It's got the,
But
the
that
to
is,
and they, then. And,
it is grammatically correct. I looked it up.
You did?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
But it is
You had me
correct.
tricked. It sounds correct.
It is correct.
Okay, good. Sounds good to me. So, yeah.
So we have
One of the classes we don't teach here is English.
Grammar. We recently talked with Bob about math, and now we're going over English. I really should have paid attention in school.
I want a parenting 101 class. That's what I want.
We kind of had that when we had Troy out.
Yeah, we did.
He kind of gave us that.
He was fantastic. He
was.
taught me how to be a good person, let alone a parent. So
there you go.
I love Troy.
Maybe we should have Troy back out. But anyway,
yeah, we should.
I digress. We have had an announcement.
Yes, we have.
Regarding
the national, correct?
That's exactly right.
I will let you tell them.
Dude.
All right.
The 2021 Renatus National Conference is officially on the calendar. And by on the calendar, I mean not on the calendar, but we have picked the dates. That's better, right?
Yeah, that's better.
Better.
Well, it's on the calendar then.
But it's not on the calendar yet. You can't register yet.
Yes, it's not on the Renatus calendar.
In case anybody confused. All right, let's try that one more time. So we have a date for the Renatus National Conference. So we are going to have the National the 18th through the 20th of March in 2021.
Yes.
18, 19, 20.
It's going to be fantastic.
In 2021. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
No. Okay, well, I thought that was funny.
So.
Haha. There's our laugh track. A little delayed. Thank you, Aaron.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good.
So we have the National Conference, which has been announced.
Yes.
March 18th, 19th, and 20th of 2021.
Correct.
And it's going to be awesome.
Yes.
All right.
Are we going to talk about where?
Let's talk about where. So we have a very exotic location, which each one of you are going to be just thrilled to attend. Your house. We're coming directly to your house, wherever you are. Our conference this year is going to be, again, in an online format. Now, last year, or I shouldn't say last year, but 2020 National Conference, we had to pivot very quickly.
Very quickly.
Right? We had, 3 weeks notice, 2 weeks notice, something like that?
I think that it was 2. It was like real close to 2 weeks,
right.
Maybe just slightly over 2 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And we put on a spectacular show. What do you think we can do now that we have this much lead time on being able to put together the next National?
I think that it will be fantastic. I think it'll be a party, right?
It will be.
It's gonna be bigger than any other kind of show or rally. That's a guarantee right there. It's gonna. No, I'm just kidding. So, no, I think it's gonna be great. So, we
just
got time.
In case Krista, our compliance officer, is watching. There's no implied guarantees of any kind of disclaimer here. Results not typical.
Yes.
So,
right.
So, anyway, we are gonna put on a killer show. We're gonna have a really good time. We're gonna bring in the latest and greatest, the very best. More information to come as we get closer. We'll make more announcements as who's going to be there as far as our keynote speakers and all of the training that's going to be coming. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yes, it will. We got time to really make this thing good.
True that.
Yeah.
True that. All right. Well, with no further ado, Matthew, why don't you introduce our guest for this podcast?
So today we have the illustrious Christian George.
Illustrious.
Not only... What, you director of content? Is that the official title?
I think that's my official title.
That's the official title. Director of content here at Renatus, but also instructor in many capacities. So commercial and velocity banking, and he's taught me how to live life to its fullest and perfect Harmony.
Wow. You just went from like awesome to
Right? Apparently, I'm a marriage counselor and I handle some financial planning. This is the best.
So,
Yes.
so tell us a little bit, as the director of content, what are some of your responsibilities here?
So I have like the best job in the whole company, and I don't even
Oh,
care
no,
what
that's
Bob
not
says.
true.
It totally
That's
is.
not
It
true.
totally is true.
You know,
Because I deal with the instructors. And you can't take that away from me.
No, I
no
won't take
matter
that
how
away.
much you try. He tries. If you're curious, J.A. really tries to nudge in on the instructors and be like, "Oh no, you don't want to plan with Christian. Come up
No.
Come up to my
Call
office."
Jay.
Troy Dunn, him are buddy, and I'm, he's trying to drive that wedge, and I'm just not going to let it happen. I'm just not going to let it happen.
I guess I never really saw it that way, but I get where you're coming from.
No,
Yeah.
I get the best job because I coordinate with the instructors on the content we're going to teach. And it's so fun because it's such a wide variety of topics and structure, and it's ever changing.
Yeah.
As soon as the landscape pips and you think you've got something nailed down in a particular area or genre, the market changes or process changes or legislation changes, and we've got instructors who are going, wait, it's different now. Tax code. Mark Kohler is the best that way. So I get to coordinate and work with them on all of their course production, the pre-production, what goes into creating, what content they share, why they share it, when they share it. We do all the coordination of how all of that amazing information gets out of their head
Right.
online so people can see it and use it. We deal a lot with the software development as far as the learning management system goes, is that part and that arm of Helios. So we have quite a bit of fun. We do people don't know how much stuff happens in content and production.
Right.
So it's really cool. And I get to work with our amazing production staff, like our, board operator, Aaron Peterson today.
I like how he threw that in there after
Yeah.
the fact. He's
Yeah.
like, right. Aaron's great too.
We have an Aaron. I thought-
Somebody.
Yes.
I,
It's an amazing
Aaron
time
Peterson
working with-
works
Yes.
here. Yes.
So tell me a little bit, you talk about liaising with the instructors. How do you pick these guys?
So we really look for who's teaching relevant content, all across the country. People who are doing seminars, people who've been published in journals, who's doing research, what they're working on actively, how it pertains. And then we try and reach out to them and see what they're willing to share. The challenge there, and the unique thing about Renatus that a lot of people don't know, is for the instructors, it has to be something of a passionate service. We do try and take care of our instructors a little bit, but a lot of people don't understand the pay structure. So I'll share just a little bit of that with them so they understand. So how a Renatus instructor gets paid is they get a very small royalty anytime a course package that includes their course is sold. And that royalty is $5. 5 smackaroos.
$5.
$5.
Yeah.
And that's what allows us to put out our essentials product out there at such an amazing price and pay so many dollars back to the field, because the instructors don't do it for the money. This is never going to be employment that's going to replace their full-time job. It's never going to be an employment that allows them to stop running their business. They have to stay active in what they do and stay relevant, and they want to share because it's absolutely transformed their life, whatever they're passionate
Right.
about. Whether it's Mark Kohler doing tax and legal stuff, he does that because he's passionate about sharing his story, his
Right.
life with everyone, and being like, man, I'm just a crazy farm kid. You can do this too. And then you get the Brian Sumps who are like diesel mechanics, and he's like, man, I sat in a classroom just like every other Renatus student, and 10 years later, what am I doing? Well, it's nearing 400 flipped homes.
Right.
That's a pretty decent income for a diesel mechanic, right?
Sure.
And so
sure
he's like,
is.
man, if I can do this, anybody can do it. And so that's where kind of that motivation comes from. And that's not right for every instructor out there.
Right.
Some people who are running, great big companies, and they do huge training programs, and they have, all these side coaching gigs and stuff like that they do. If they want to have Renatus be their vehicle to make $1 gazillion, it's not the platform for them.
Right. They're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's the difference between a practitioner instructor versus a guru?
A guru, that's a great question and a great comment. The market's full of gurus, right? And we kind of see them proliferating now. And since COVID, it's been really interesting because e-learning, online learning, stuff that you can do remotely, stuff that you can do from home, has absolutely exploded.
Yeah.
And people are kind of going hand over fist, like day trading's huge. It's causing rallies in the stock market, and and it all kind of ties in together. And so the gurus are the guys who will take advantage of that. They'll be on that kind of bubble of saying, man, I have some really powerful and oftentimes really good information, but I need to turn it into a business model. I need to turn it into something that I can sell people, where my model of doing business is making money by selling information. And our instructors work on the opposite side of that. They've already made the money with the model, with the strategy, with what they do. And then they come in and say, man, I want to make millionaires by sharing my story and sharing my techniques and strategies and inside stuff. So that's kind of where it shifts. And some of those gurus are really great and really knowledgeable and have amazing programs. And what all too often happens is they start students down a path where they hit like a 2-day boot camp or a workshop, and sometimes they'll pay $100 or $300 for it.
Right.
And then at that workshop, they upsell you into the next program or the next thing. Sometimes now it's happening even online, right? You click on and buy a $47 ebook, which has all the secrets of day trading in it. And before you even hit the checkout button, they've upsold you onto a $1,500 coaching program.
Right. Hey, we're going to give you all the secrets, but you can't really use them unless you get a coach.
And unless you do it right now. This timer in 9 minutes and 37 seconds is going away, and you'll never be able to get this pricing again. Ever. Right?
Yes.
We've seen those models. And if they have great information and they help people make money, and more power to them.
Yeah.
But for our instructor practitioners on the opposite end of that spectrum, they live every single day in the field that they teach.
Yeah.
So they can't burn bridges. They have to make it work, and they have a reputation to protect, and they have to be on their game, because as the industry changes, as tax code changes, as law changes, as enforcement of law changes, which is what we're learning a lot about now with like SEC and laws have been in place for years, but the organizing employees in those organizations, the three letter offices, right?
Alphabet soup.
Well, those guys go in and they try and put out rules which they want the industries to follow by, but those rules aren't law.
Right.
They're rules. And as those rules change, sometimes I believe that they tend to push a little too hard. They go really aggressively after business. And I'm a huge proponent. You guys have seen my courses. You hear what I teach. It's all about small business and entrepreneurship and getting ahead. So I am all about protecting that small business owner.
Yeah.
And that's kind of sometimes where the gurus get lost, is they forget that at the end of that purchase, there's a real person there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they see more of the opportunity with a customer instead of more of a future with an individual.
Yep.
It seems like it's not that they don't have good information, it's that they dilute the information and
Sometimes.
then give you a little bit at a time. In Renatus, like you said, the exact opposite, right? We concentrate it down to the nuts and bolts. 1, 2, 3. This is how you step through the process. This is where you look out for things that could go wrong. This is where you see the pitfalls and take it to the next level.
Dude, and from those practitioner instructors, what are they telling you? Dude, they're telling you live experience. Hey,
oh, yeah.
This is a pitfall because I totally took it in the shorts on this deal. I totally lost my 10 grand here, right? Whatever the case is,
right.
They're telling you from a place of pain, real pain in their
Yes.
heart that, they don't want anybody else to feel that way.
How's that saying go? A smart person learns from their own experience. A wise person learns from the experience of others.
Yeah.
Totally
Yes.
true. Totally true. That is so true. True.
And it's easy to see, and I say this with love for any of our instructors that are watching, that our instructors are not paid performers.
No. Mm-mm.
They are practitioners. They're the guys that are out there every single day hustling and really making a full-time living doing what they're teaching about.
Mm-hmm.
And as they do that, like you said, they stay current with the laws. They stay current with trends that they're starting to see.
Mm-hmm.
I love when you get those little nuggets of gold that come out of a class where they're like, oh yeah, last week I had this happen, or an inspector told me this, or I'm starting to see this with appraisals. I'll never forget how appraisals have changed over the last 10 years.
yeah.
And what
Totally.
it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
And with good reason, right? I mean, that comes out of the Great Recession that we came out of in 2008, where we had an industry in finance go way beyond where it should have been, and it caused problems. But complicit in that were appraisers in the industry that had relationships with mortgage lenders. And I've been on both sides. So at that point in my career in 2006 and 2007, I had been a real estate agent for more than a decade. I was active with the title license. We were closing just a ton of properties, and we were doing refis, and we were doing all of this work. And I knew appraisers. I could call them up and be like, "Hey, when am I going to see this appraisal hit the title company, or when are we going to get it to the bank?"
Right.
And as a realtor, I had those same relationships, and I had preferences in people I liked, and because they did business the same way I did, and I believe that I had great people to work with. But what we learned, what came out of that is we decided, and I think through regulation and HUD and kind of what that office wanted to create is they wanted kind of that Chinese firewall in between, which ended up being a real positive, right? So now your appraisers are randomly generated through the computer system that the bank has, and they've got a set of local appraisers that are in the system that are approved to lend and work with that bank, and then it randomly generates. So the loan officer can't control, the real estate agent can't control, the buyer or seller can't control. And if you have ancillary appraisals or people already said, "No, I know my appraiser," the bank still can't take them because they won't be able to move that asset into the secondary market. And so that's been a positive. Has there been some negative to that process? Sure. And this is why it's so interesting to me, why I get all hyped up when I start talking about it. Like, this is the good stuff.
You're geeking out a little bit on me.
Right? I get all excited about it because there were pros and cons to that process. A lot of times deals don't flow quite as smoothly or quite as fastly as they used to because we don't have control of that aspect. We don't have control of the appraisers. The agents don't. The brokers don't. But on the flip side of that, I think we have, as a lending industry as a whole, it's a much more solid base to the whole industry.
Right.
And that's exciting. That's important because when we look at a complete shutdown of the economy, pulling it back to today, which is relevant, we're going to see the process of homes hitting the foreclosure market taking longer to happen because the people who have those mortgages behind those are in a better position financially. They're more stable.
Right.
We've seen a little bit of a trend where people were holding more in reserves and increasing the national savings rate, putting a little bit more aside for rainy days. Now, is it going to happen? You better believe it. You're going to start to see people go up. We already have, super high numbers of people in default or pre-foreclosure.
Oh, yeah.
And so those properties are still going to hit, but it could have been so much worse. Think of if this would have happened, a 6-month shutdown of the economy.
Oh, back in 2008.
Back in 2008 with the lending practices and the mortgage-backed securities we had then.
Yeah.
It would have just been off the charts. It would have been a much longer recovery for us.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
It's to me, it's very telling that we're constantly looking, and by we, I mean you, at the trends in the market, and then you seem to always find those classes that are most affected by the trends in the market, and lo and behold, they get on the recording schedule as if they need an update.
Yeah, if we get them up there. One of the things we're working on right now, we're talking to an instructor based out of California, and I can't give you information because we're not done yet. But we're really working
the
hard. The
identities of the innocent are being redacted to protect their.
You can't know. But this concept of community development areas or CDA money, and it's different than RDA. So RDA money, if you're familiar with that concept, is what they would do is they would create this vehicle by which local municipalities could go in and create a redevelopment district or a redevelopment area.
Right.
And you could get some tax offsets by developing there. So if a business would come in and do something interesting, do something to help the neighborhood, help the community, the city would give them 5 or 10 or 15 years of tax offsets, and then later on, when that business came into full presence and they were willing to pay more in sales tax or whatever kind of revenue property tax was being generated from the property, then that would flow back in to the redevelopment agency.
Oh.
And that money could then be used to further do redevelopment through the city or municipality, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a perpetual giving fund was the concept behind them. They sometimes work really well, sometimes they don't work so well. But what from that kind of concept started this concept of CDA or community development area. And and or community development agency. They call them agencies because the local community, the local municipality forms an agency to manage it, right?
Yeah.
And the concept, and this is what is so freaking cool, is with CDA, a community development area, the federal government has designated, I think, somewhere around 8,000 different CDAs across the country. So they're just all over. And they're usually in urban areas that really need redevelopment, and it's a part of a city that they're looking for a specific type of development to go into. But what happens now is if it is in an approved CDA, for the first time that I'm aware of, they can come in and you can liquidate stock assets like a 1031 exchange and invest that stock cash that you've liquidated out of your stock portfolio
into real estate
and do it in a tax deferred way.
Oh, wow.
It's so cool. And so it's been around for about 1.5 years, 2 years now. It's not a new program, but people are just still getting their feet in. And the people who are taking advantage of it are the wealthy, right?
Right.
They know how to do it. They're like, well, this is a chance, because they've wanted for years for a good, clean way to move their money tax deferred, right?
Yes.
From the stock market into real estate.
Yeah.
And there's a vehicle to do that.
Wow.
Super
That's
cool.
crazy.
That is.
I'm gonna have to spend some time to wrap my mind around that, because I see huge potential.
Huge potential. Yeah.
That's really
No
neat.
kidding.
That's just one thing. Just something.
just
one. Just one of
something
many.
we're working on.
Yeah.
Just, one of those things.
Seriously.
So when you started with Renatus, when did you start?
I started in full time in June of 2016.
2016.
I was an instructor, and we produced and started filming my courses in late 2011.
Yeah.
So I started my relationship with Renatus as an instructor,
I
really
remember
from the
that.
beginning, right? It's been forever. I freaked Jay out, so he'll tell you the story. So he wasn't going to tell you. He's like, I'll
I
totally
wasn't gonna
give him
bring
a
it
pass.
up.
I'll totally tell you. I totally own this, So you come down to studio, right? And Jay'd be like, yeah, we got a class. And, I know. And, I live about 45 minutes away from where the studio was at that time. And as busy people do, you procrastinate. I don't know who would ever do this. And so, you're working on your slide deck the night before, and I got handouts to give because I want to take people through the course. And if you've seen my courses, I show you settlement statements and title reports and all kinds of stuff in them. So there's a mere 50 pages of handouts to go with every student packet. And I'm cruising down and I just hit traffic. It's just bad. It's just so bad.
I-15.
And so, Jay starts pounding my phone at 7:30 in the morning. He's like, you good today? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm great. And then it gets closer and he's like, you're not here yet. And so, but then I'd walk in and they would go, they would take a deep breath and everything would be good, right? And I'd hand Jay the box of papers and I'd be like, hand these out. And I'd go up and hand Randall or somebody my slide deck and plug it in. And then I'd just start to teach. It'd be like,
No. Okay.
10 minutes from walking in the door to teaching.
You ever seen that movie where a guy is holding something and then he hands it to the other guy and the guy falls over?
Yes.
Because it's so heavy.
Yes.
That's what Christian did. He walks in, he's got this box. He's like, here, these are my handouts. I'm expecting, 25 sheets of paper.
full of
And I'm like,
paper.
boom.
Yeah.
Oh, what is this?
It's 85 pounds of paper.
Yes.
Yeah, we killed a few trees. The best though.
That's
so
funny.
here is the tenacity of Jay and his team. I have to tell you because I love this story. So one day I'm really late and I'm caught in traffic and it's just a mess. And it starts to be 8 o'clock and our start time is 8:30, right? And Jay's like, where are you? And I'm like, dude, I'm coming. I can't part the sea of cars to get here. And so I keep coming. And then I get a new call from Randall. And he's like, dude, where you at? Where you at? And I'm like, I'm coming. And then Randall starts to call me literally every 2 minutes as I drive, and I can count the mile markers on the freeway that I progressed by Randall's calls until
that's
I
hilarious.
literally walk in the door. I think he called me 27 times in 14 minutes. It was awesome.
That is funny.
I was clear that I was late, and Randall got me into the studio on time, so I am grateful.
It is funny because this was even before the days of doing a live broadcast recording.
Oh, totally. We were totally
It was just recording.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. I don't know.
And Bob was always so gracious because as I walked into the studio, He never had like a pulsating vein coming out of his forehead or like tension lines in his neck.
He is a
his
consummate
instructor.
pro
He
for
totally
sure.
is.
Very
He's
much
the
so.
best.
You know, that was right in the days when we brought video production in house for the very first time.
Yeah.
Because we had an outside contractor that was working with us, and I think yours may have been the very first time, and so we're just like, oh no.
Yeah, no kidding. As you guys have to figure it out already.
Oh man. That was
Good times.
That was good times.
So it has been years now
So,
that I've been here.
so you've been working with Renatus since 2011, and you've been full-time with us since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen at the transition? What have you seen transition inside of the company, or maybe what has been the most exciting transition you've seen since you've been here?
Hands down, it's growth. I don't know about you guys, but when I came to my first staff meeting, do you remember how many people there were?
In 2016,
Because it was kind of like the first introduction, right?
Right.
And like the customer service people were obviously working in customer service, but
yeah.
there were 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was me and Jay and Randall, and you were working phones.
Yep. Yep.
And Adam
Adam and
And-
Bob.
and Bob. That was the 5 of us.
Wow.
And so
That's
it's so
crazy.
exciting because now we have like a full video editing staff, and we've got our content staff. Angie Perkins is our amazing content manager, and Julio Nino is our translation specialist, and Jake Thorup does an amazing job on videos with Aaron.
Right.
And that's just my staff. If we look around, we've seen improvements in customer service, and we've grown there. We have like Tara, who's just awesome, and so many good people, and we've
Yeah.
got finance people. We've got Danny on
We got
board,
a
and
full-time billing department.
full-time
now.
billing
We've got-
department.
oh yeah.
and it just goes
Explosive
on and
growth.
on and on. I mean, there's just so
Yeah.
many things that we do on a bigger scale, and that reflects in the education too. If I,
does.
if I do say
If
a
I-
little,
if I don't
if I say so myself, we
Yes.
had, how many did we have when I came on? I think we were 28 or 32 courses.
Yeah, I
We're
think
sitting at
just over-
75.
Oh
Yep.
man. That's incredible.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I go in there every once in a while because somebody will ask like how many we have, and I'll dive in and I'll go look and count just what's been, not what's in production, like what is there, and often there's more than the last time I counted, right? Like
Totally happens.
it's crazy. I really I remember when we were advertising or talking about having 60 full day classes.
Yeah.
So that was only like a couple, maybe 2.5
Months ago?
Yeah,
weeks
right.
ago. So now that we've talked about our overhead, buy a
Yeah.
combo.
No, we recently had the leadership training, which was phenomenal, right? Just a testament not only to the support team here, but the amazing content that got created. But we saw kind of a new format, which I think, if I'm not overstepping here, is a precursor of things to come.
Absolutely.
Where we had Bob able to interact, talk with people who were afar, and bring them into the studio, into the broadcast. And
Pretty
with-
incredible.
Yeah.
It was really, revolutionary, I think. Yeah.
So-
it's just the beginning. We're so excited about it because it's going to be the ability, and this is one of those blessing and a curse from COVID, right? Because we've driven up our technology and our development schedules to kind of push and give the online user a better experience. We always knew we would go that direction, but now we're really making it happen because we miss having people in studio.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no live interaction. So we want students, as they do a full day workshop at one of our corporate intensives, or we do a reshoot and they're watching online because they purchased that course in a previous package, that they can get right on there and go in and interact lifetime with the instructor. The instructor's going to be able to see them through their webcam. They're going to be able to ask questions, dialogue a little bit, back and forth. I don't know if you guys noticed on that broadcast, but there was some really cool things that happened. Like we had some people way far away, like Hawaii, that had almost no latency in the line at all. And those are all variables like internet connection.
I was quite impressed because, I'm sure most people probably don't think about that, but I was, as I was watching it from at home,
Sure.
thoroughly impressed. I was like, man, I'm surprised that there's no latency, especially because it's got to go Hawaii, you guys back, and then to me, and whatever. It's just, it really does amaze me.
The signal goes all over. And so it was super cool. And so those processes will improve and fine tune even further. And the great thing is, we know from experience as we develop courses, the more our students are involved with the instructors, the more they have an opportunity to ask questions about what's happening in their markets across the country,
Right.
the better quality course we get, the more
Absolutely.
relevant it is. And that's really what we want for our students. So we're so excited. This is just the beginning. If you were watching on Saturday, it's just the beginning. If you missed Saturday, wait for our next live broadcast because you're going to see it again.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was phenomenal. The interaction was awesome. The quality was just incredible. And I know that there were a few with the stream right in the beginning. There was a little bit of a lag in the stream, but once that got reset, it was like awesome.
Yeah,
it was so great. So
those lags, speaking of the resets that we have to do,
The gremlins.
I believe those are what keep us humble and remind us that we're not superhuman and infallible because, really, we set it up and we test it, and we tested that morning early and we had really clear system and technology is just that way. But I just think of the thousands of Zoom meetings that happen every day and the communication that is now global that's allowing people to work from home. And it just tickles me. I'm just so excited because I think it's absolutely fabulous in its ability to bring the world together and get information out more quickly and have it be accurate and more effective. And we get to play in that. We get to have a role in all that happens there. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it.
So tell me a little bit about the describe for us how you have not only just looked at LMSs, but how that all of that study really applies in Helios. How did that affect Helios? So for anybody at home, LMS stands for Learning Management System. Sorry.
No, that's great. So your learning management system is the same platform or a platform that everyone from universities now to elementary and high school, secondary education are using to give their learner the online experience, right? And it can encompass everything from video to print materials to interactive courses and quizzes like we have with our assessments. And what we know is there's good and there's bad, and there's good and there's better and there's best. And so we studied and looked at, I can't even count how many different platforms we wanted. And for a long time in that process, we really wanted to outsource it. And this is why one of the reasons I just love Bob, because we looked at so many and we looked at their price tag and the value we'd get for them and how much we'd have to pay. And most of them are based off of subscription models, which means that every year that you're a user on that system, you have to pay X amount of dollars.
Right.
And some institutions, universities and stuff, they'll have packages. So that cost is either charged to their student through a fee or it's charged through their tuition. And for Renatus, it's such a large cost that it would have happened that way for our students too. We would have at some point had to come back and say, okay, we have to either charge an annual fee or charge a recurring fee or set up a higher cost to the product. And we looked at all of that process and Bob's like, that's just not the answer for us. That's not what we do. And so we brought the development of the LMS platform in-house. And Todd and his team just did fantastic in getting us features and finding the appropriate video players and making sure that it kind of is a seamless thing and that we can track your educational history. And then we wanted a step further. And I remember the meetings with Todd because I was like, Todd, this is what I need it to do. I need it to take notes and I needed to make action steps and I need to have documents. And he's like, dude, that's a lot in Todd's way. And I was like, I know, but we really need it. And they just made it happen. Yeah. Bob devoted the resources and Todd organized his team. And then we did a ton of UX UI meetings and really talked about what's happening. And if I could share the vision of where that learning platform is going, we're just at the beginning. We're in elementary school with the capabilities of that MLS and what it's going to have over the next several years. And I'm so excited because appropriate engagement tools like gamification are going to play a role in the development. Long-term and lifelong learning, and more play to interactive learning where courses we're working on in the future won't be just a video, but it will be a course. It'll be interactive. There will be exercises. There will be games. There will be it will be a whole user experience online. Because what we know is when people engage with content, they retain more and then can apply it. And so for our future user, they're going to have the ability not just to listen to an MP3 in their car or on their iPad or iPhone and, just listen to listen to the courses. They're going to be able to watch the video of the courses. They're going to be able to read a workbook of the courses. And then they're going to be actively engaged in going through the course in an online format, which we're super excited about too. Now that's out of ways. I'm not promising that before Christmas or anything like that at all. It's way farther
So next
out than
week,
that.
yes?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. October 54th.
October 19th, man. And but it is something that we're looking forward to, because we've learned from countless universities across the country, and we've studied other platforms for private learning and other e-learning platforms, and continued engagement and a long-lasting platform is something that's really important for student success.
Yeah.
And that also draws the parallel between the Guru programs and us. Their students don't have access for a lifetime.
No, they don't.
They need to get them through the course in 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, however long it is. And then there's a new sell for them or a new something. So their platforms don't have to be as stable. Their video quality doesn't have to be as high. They're not looking for a student being engaged with this system for the next 15, 20, or 50 years. And that's how we think. And that's what makes us so different from so many other people, is I'm really thinking about what my student's going to see 10 years from now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
cool.
I love that. And I love that it's constantly looking forward for how we can continue to serve the customer even well beyond 12 months, 24 months, on and on.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
And that's Bob. That's
That
an
is
investment. Those are dollars spent today for reward 5 and 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And there are a few CEOs that I know that would make that big of an investment, that big of a commitment. But we've been in business for 10 years, which in our industry, either new online learning or direct sales, is a long time. And I feel like we are in startup mode. I totally feel like we are just cracking the surface of what we're going to do.
Yeah, I love that. Pause here for just 1 second. And we're going to want to cut this. I want to ask a question about one of our most requested features right now is continuous playing on the player.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you want me to bring up, or should I just avoid that?
I don't know. It's gone back and forth.
Okay.
I think we're close on it.
Let's just avoid it then.
Yeah, I would say we're less than 6 months, but
Okay.
Again, do we get any,
Yeah.
Right.
API requests from Eric and Nancy in the next 2 weeks? I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
Okay.
All right. So I know that at the national conference, not this past year, but the year before, you did a presentation during our cash flow game, or our cash flow party.
cash
Yes.
recovery party, man.
Cash recovery
Cash
party.
recovery party.
I know what our stuff is called.
It was
I do.
a party.
Last time I checked, you're a marketer too, man.
It's
Whitney
true.
would be here kicking
It's
your
true.
trash
She
if she
would
heard
be.
you call it a cash party.
She would probably flip me in the air one time. So I just want to know, is the ninja strong with you?
The ninja is strong.
There it is. That's what I was hoping for. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch the cash recovery party, it's online right now. It's in Helios,
Yeah,
right?
go into training. It's
Yep.
under nationals, and it's
Yeah.
under the 2019. You can see it. That, what a lot of students don't realize, and ICMs too, is that's available to share. So if you're having like a cash recovery party, or you want to introduce the concept of velocity banking to a group of prospects, that's a great video to play. You can go in, you queue it up, and you don't have to teach it. You don't have to have your own slide deck or anything. Hit play, let it roll. It's about 26, 27 minutes. And then they have a great overview of what it is. They can see a room with 1,500 people in it at our national convention, know that it's legitimate, that it works.
Yeah.
They can see people cheering. They get to see me dance around, which is not pleasant or pleasurable for anyone, but they can see it. And
Made me laugh.
it was pretty funny, right? I'm always good for a laugh. And so it's there for them, and it's
Nice.
awesome today. It's a great piece, and those will get updated too. A lot of people don't know that we update. What happens in marketing and in content and production also encompasses marketing. So our marketing videos, where we do online trainings, the 10-step that Bob produces, Renatus reviews, generally speaking, we handle all the production on that, and those are updated constantly. Aaron shot last week another set of generally speakings with Bob. It was a great shoot. We got some really good content, really relevant for today. And you can watch those come out right on your Helios dashboard every time you log in.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And I know that you recently did a founders webinar where you went through kind of Helios and you showed some of the video assets that are currently available. How many different pieces have been produced? How many different videos do you think are available right now in Helios?
Dude, that's a really good question. I haven't counted them, but like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And by a lot, I mean like a lot. In Helios, you can see, and some are for distribution and some are for not. Some are for training purposes, right? But in there, we have our money matrix library that, you know, is spearheaded by Woody Woodward and absolutely amazing content. But that is several hundred videos on its own.
Yeah, I think that's 500 videos deep, if I remember right.
You go in and you add several hundred Renatus reviews. We're nearing 200 generally speakings. I mean, and those are all shorts. Now you add in a course overview for each course in the Renatus library, and we don't have all 75 courses done yet, but we've got most of them. Then you add in instructor bios for all 32 instructors, and dude, all of a sudden you're sitting like 700, 800, 900 assets, and this is before you hit any of the specialized stuff like past national trainings or past nationals or Renatus trainings or any of that.
This is all ancillary material to the actual education.
To the actual education.
Yes, it is.
That, you know, 1,000 videos we're talking about has nothing to do with our, you know, 400 to 500 hours of real estate investment education and business education.
Oh man, that's
just
awesome.
A little, just a small library,
just a touch, just a few videos that I threw together this one day. Yeah. So then just real quick, because I know that we're running short on time, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about your experience as you were not only creating your class but also facilitating the creation of the Profits courses.
Sure. Profits has been, it's fast becoming what I am most passionate about in the Renatus curriculum and as part of the company, because it has such a wider breadth and depth of who it can reach and what it can teach. And why I say that is we learn from Woody and Drive. And I tell everybody that I am a student of our education. When Woody teaches, I listen and I learn. When Mark teaches, I listen and I learn, and I take the classes and I watch the video. I get to watch them like 4 times before they're even produced. You know,
right?
We're live in production, and then we do a couple rough cuts and we edit it in. And but that's why I love my job, because I learn as we go, and it's just so amazing. But what's happening there is Woody teaches us in Drive that we have, you know, 5 Drive personality types, right? And we sell to our Drive, our own Drive. And so by doing so, we really connect with 20% of the people, but we tend to alienate or just miss the other 80%.
Right.
I'm starting to gain a feeling that that's what's happened, or that's what happens with kind of real estate investing education. Is real estate investing education is right for, you know, 20%, maybe even more. We know that it's right from a principle standpoint for everybody. It's how the wealthy do business.
Right.
But as a personality type, you know, 3 or 4 out of 5 people are going to say, man, real estate is too risky. They've got history.
It's too much money.
It's too much money.
I know somebody who got burned one time.
Totally. My dad lost his shirt. He invested in real estate in the 50s. Or, you know, whatever their story is. And so by just saying real estate education, they just kind of turn us off and tune out before they hear our message.
Yeah.
And Profits picks up the slack, because what happens when you talk about entrepreneurship and you talk about business ownership and you talk about taking your life to the next level, our Profits learning path has something for absolutely everybody. I can't think of a person that I've met and at some point haven't had a conversation with, or I know that they would have an experience like this where they have, you know, been sitting on the porch, you know, on a Sunday afternoon looking at the finances, trying to pay the bills, and said, I should start a business. I should do something on my own. Or they've driven by, you know, or had an experience in an existing business, whether it's like a mechanics repair shop or a restaurant, and said, man, these people don't get it. I could run this business so much better. Or they've been sitting talking with their partner or spouse, and they're like, man, you know, we've always dreamed about doing that home-based business and starting that side hustle. Or there's the stay-at-home mom who's like, man, my life could be transformed for my kid for $400 or $500 a month more income. Yeah. We could change our health care. We could change. Everybody has a story that says with just this little bit more, we could totally change our lives.
Yep.
And that's what Profits is about, because we're for everybody else who's just looking for that little bit more. And you start to see what we teach, it just will knock their socks off. If they want to do sales, we've got Woody Woodward's Drive for Sales. If they want to learn about starting a business, we've got Mark Kohler with his amazing integrated business plan that goes over business plans, strat plans, and marketing plans. Strat is strategy plans, right?
Right.
And how all three of them work together. Your vision is to sell on social media. Nobody better than Rob Sperry. Right. Coming in and pounding hard on, hey, this is the way people are doing it today. And it's not all about advertising. It's about sharing 80% of your life. It's the 80-20 rule there too. We see that Pareto rule often in many spaces. But Rob teaches, man, 4 out of 5 posts should be about you, about your life, about your kids, about what you're doing, about what's interesting to you. And then 20% should be about where you want them to go to get your goods and services.
We've all seen people that post 100% about something, trying to sell something or whatever, and it just
totally true.
You just start to tune out. You
either ignore them or you unfriend them, right? You get off that feed.
It's different if that person's a friend, a real friend.
Yeah,
this is genuinely sharing their lives. You're interacting, and if they put that out there and you want to learn more, it comes from a much more genuine place.
Totally is true. And it's about connection.
Yeah.
Speaking about that, sales for the new age, in my opinion, this is business according to Christian. There's no, I don't know of a lot of studies on this or anything, but the new rising generation, the millennials who like to work remotely and aren't as concerned about home ownership. And, what we do know about them is when they interact, they want a connection and a relationship there. That connection and relationship is much more powerful to that generation than was the lifestyle or the experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? They're looking for that. So what we have to do through social media is create that connection with them.
Right.
And through any platform. If you're selling live to live in person, if you're a retail salesperson, if you're selling your business model door to door, if you're creating a following through a podcast, or you want to be a star on national television and be on daytime talk shows like Troy Dunn teaches. He has a specific formula, but what's that formula about? It's about creating connection, not just with the audience either. Who does he create the connection with? He creates the connection with the producers of the show.
Right.
He creates the connection with the people who are the stars of the show.
Right.
He creates the connection with the guests of the show so that when they have another opportunity, who do they return to? He becomes their center, their principal. And that's just one more example. You go into business and velocity banking. We talk about tools that everybody can use. Everybody can use velocity banking, the way they use money, and simply by reorganizing how that money flows in and out of our lives, they can totally pay less in interest over their lifetime, retire debt more quickly, become debt-free. It's just totally cool. But when you couple that with the new topic in the class, which I love, called the infinite banking concept, you use the tools that we have today to create wealth for generations.
Right.
And that's how the two work together. Your velocity banking is your short-term play to fix cash flow today. Mm-hmm. Your infinite banking, using overfunded whole life insurance, like a velocity banking account or a wealth accumulation account, not exclusively. This isn't the only place you put your retirement dollars and all that stuff. It's not about that. But it is different than what Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey tell you. If you hear what Dave and Susie say about whole life insurance, they say you should beat the person with a stick who sold you that policy and that product.
Yeah.
And I do not believe that, and I don't subscribe to that philosophy. Is it disciplined? Absolutely.
Right.
Is it a 40-year play instead of a 4-month play? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when you look at creating lasting wealth that you can get to your family, either tax-free or tax-deferred, and be with very little contributions at the early end of it, because we're dealing with true compounding interest on this, and a product that has guaranteed returns, guaranteed. Stock market doesn't offer guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
Right.
This is a guaranteed return with reputable companies that have been around for 100, 150, and almost 200 years.
Yeah.
You can begin to establish planning for generations.
Right.
Literally generations, so that your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren are going to be able to live either a debt-free lifestyle or a lifestyle of good debt versus bad debt, or have financial control and not be beholden to a system or a government where money can just be produced out of thin air.
Right.
It's a way to insulate yourself for security by taking yourself out of the system. Because we've talked and everybody say about Social Security, oh, it's not going to be there and da-da-da-da-da.
Social insecurity.
The social insecurity, right?
Right.
Yep.
But the reality is the way to insulate yourself is not need it. Have the available resources that you need so that your money outlasts you.
Right.
Yeah.
And for generations. I am applying that principle to my new son, who was born just over 4 months ago, right? 4 months.
Congratulations.
4 months on Monday. Thank you. His name's Jasper.
Nice.
So Jasper had a big day today. He rolled over for the first time.
Oh,
Attaboy.
that's awesome.
Landmarks. Well, in conjunction with that, we started working on his infinite banking account today.
Wow,
Or this
nice.
week.
Cool.
So he's going to have this in place, and then if he does it, he's going to be able to leave a legacy for his grandchildren and great grandchildren, and you know,
Wow.
I'm going to jump in and help with his kids because that's my job as a grandpa, right? I get to be a little grandpa like.
Nice.
To spread the wealth a little. So
That's fun.
So what you're saying then is that the profits is really an opportunity that will reach that remaining 80%.
I believe
Right.
so.
100% of people really, I mean, can
Right?
use it, right? Like really everybody can use it on any continent, any country.
And then
So true.
as those
Yeah.
people start to increase in their means and in their financial awareness, they're going to want another vehicle where they can take that money after they've made it and put it somewhere.
And do
That's
something.
real estate. Yep.
That's almost like
That's
real estate.
What?
That's what it
What?
is. So
So profits is really a great introduction into financial awareness, business ownership, entrepreneurship, and then being able to accountably and responsibly manage that money moving forward into real estate
For generations.
for generations.
yeah,
That's
cool.
the thing. What we learned, I think, in my experience, is you saw the baby boomers and the greatest generation come through World War II, and we saw finance change, and we went through the 60s and 70s, and so now our parents or our grandparents are kind of at that baby boomer generation. One thing they did really well is they knew how to work hard, earn money, and really create a stable and a good retirement. But what they didn't focus on was legacy leaving. They
Right.
didn't focus on making that extend for generations out.
Yeah.
And, another instructor, Garrett Gunderson, talks a ton about this in his courses, about designing your legacy, what you want it to be, how
Right.
you want it to look like, what your kids want to be, what values will guide that trust that you create. Are you going to be the Vanderbilts or the Rockefellers, right?
Right.
And that is my vision of what my goal is. So the new learning curve for our generation, for this group of people, is to say, okay, now we've learned such great lessons from the prior generation. What do we want to do? Well, we want to make it a legacy play.
Yeah.
And it's juxtaposed too. We have a lot of people, and I get scared because I think our education system is struggling a little bit, where people are getting out of school without financial education. And they don't know where to go to get it, and they don't know how to get it.
Yeah.
So we can play a twofold role. We can play catch up for the people who didn't get it from their parents,
Right.
and then we can also at the same time teach them how to leave a legacy.
It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today, hearing a little bit about, where you've come from, where you're at, and where we're headed. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out
Dude,
and meeting with us.
My pleasure, Jay. I didn't let you talk at all. I just did all the talking.
Oh, we're
Oh,
here
you
for
know
you.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Everybody's looking forward to hearing from you, not us.
They get us all the time.
Give me an open mic. I'll take it. You guys are awesome. Bring me back soon. I'd love to be here.
Will
Thanks,
do.
Christian.
Thanks so much. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Aaron Peterson, our line producer. On behalf of myself and Mr. Matt Snyder, have a phenomenal day. Renatus rocks.